In its 20th year of business, Thompson Boxing has shown the way of how a club promoter can be successful in this crazy sport of boxing. Now, the club series is very important for the development of young fighters that get overlooked, but it's also a series that you can lose a lot of money. We've seen a lot of promotion companies that start 1 month and then they're gone the next. And for a company to be involved for 20 years is because of the leadership that they have. I'm your host, Beto Duran. I worked for Thompson Boxing the last couple of years. But I've known of the company for a lot of years here in Southern California, because that's where you know that guys are going to become champions. They're going to be molded. They're going to become men when they leave the Thompson Boxing series. And the man who started it all, joining us today, the namesake, Mr. Ken Thompson, is our guest today. Mr. Thompson, thank you for joining us. And when you got the idea of, I want to start a boxing club series, what were you thinking?
Well, I had just been president of the World Boxing Hall of Fame for 4 years. So we had had a lot of opportunity to meet a lot of the boxers from all over the world. And as a president of the Hall of Fame, you realize that's a nonprofit organization. You have to come up with some method to raise money for it. So we started promoting. So when I left as president, we started promoting full-time for Thompson Boxing benefits. So that's what we got into it. We had an opportunity to meet all the champions from around the world, everybody in the media, everybody in the sports world, and it was really an intriguing time. So with the help of Alex Campanova, who just graduated as a broadcaster, came to work for the Hall of Fame, and then came with me as my promoter, as my matchmaker. He was just absolutely a shoo-in. So he was able to talk to the very top people, bring in the best fighters, and put together the best shows ever. And he's just a talented guy that made a big success of Thompson Boxing.
And Mr. Thompson, when you think about that first show you put on, you've been around boxing for a while. How nerve-wracking was that first Thompson Boxing show?
It was the most nerve-wracking night of my life. The main event fell out. And so the first show, the main event falls out. Thank God for the commission. They told us about a fight that had just fell out the night before in Fantasy Springs. So we contacted the manager and trainer, and he said, we're ready to go. We brought him in, and we were covered, except for the fighter we had brought in came from Colombia, and he hadn't gone through the medical. So the night of the fight, we're scrambling with a sold-out crowd, scrambling to get a guy covered so we could fight the main event. So that night put us in the quiver for about the next 6 months. But it turned out great. And to be honest with you, it couldn't have been any better. When you start off in a rough night and you have to scramble to stay on your feet, it makes you aware of what's out there. So I think it was the best thing ever.
Are you just saying, you know what, maybe I'm going to go back to the Hall of Fame where it's nice and easy. Let me just do that instead of promoting.
You're right. No, to be honest with you, it was a lot of fun too. We had a lot of good times at the Hall of Fame. We brought fighters in from all over the world, had great benefits each year, and things really went well. We had every champion in the world. Don King was there, Julio, Jose Suleiman, George Foreman, and on and on and on. So, it was really a tremendous time in our life.
As I said in the beginning, a lot of promoters come out there and they think, okay, we're going to make money here. We're going to turn a buck. We're going to become this. We're going to do that. And then the reality hits them of how hard it is to make a club show. What has kept you motivated over these 20 years when you're doing the Thompson Boxing series?
Well, to be honest with you, I love the sport. In fact, I tell people it's not a sport, it's a life. You really, truly live it. And I like the people in this business more than you can ever imagine. You got the great fighters, promoters, managers, and just everybody involved in it, the media. It just makes an exciting time out of it. And since, like I mentioned, Alex Campanova is a fabulous matchmaker, so he puts together tremendous fights. And we've always said in the beginning, if you put great fighters in the ring, the fans will fill up the seats. So that's what we've tried to do all through this 20 years.
Was there ever a time when you said, you know what, maybe this isn't for me because the economy changes, sponsors fall out, fighter, where you're just like, this is a headache, I don't want this?
No, to be honest with you, that's when you really get into it. And by the time you get through it, you're so exhausted, you forgot it and you move to the next one. And the one thing about it, Beto, every single promoter goes through the same scenario. Fighters falling out, shows canceling, just numerous of things can create tremendous problems up to the very last moment that fighter gets in the ring. You don't know if he's fighting or not.
Yeah, and you've stuck with it. And I love your attitude, and it's infectious with not just your boxing employees, but also your employees with Thompson Building Materials, because it does have that sense of family where people take pride in what they're doing. And when you're a promotion company, and you said it yourself right now, when things are bad, that's when you roll up your sleeves and you work even harder, much like your fighters. You've made champions. You've taken Timothy Bradley, Josito Lopez, Chris Arreola, Danny Roman. To see those guys come from the DoubleTree to get to the pinnacle of the sport, have a belt around them, their waist, or even fighting for a champion to get them to that level, how much satisfaction do you take in that?
A tremendous amount. We love to see the young fighters start and work their way up. And you can see from the very beginning if they're going to make it, if they're going to go to the top, because they're dedicated to the point of ridiculous. Like the kid that'll be fighting our main event on the 26th, Michael Dutchover. He lives and breathes it. He doesn't even take a bite of food unless it's approved by his trainer. So when you do that, that's when you're really committed, and there's nothing going to stand in your way. You put that together with discipline and talent, and you've got a real winner. And that's what we try to look for.
And you mentioned Michael Dutchover. We will see him July 26th, 3-2-1 pay-per-view, $6, a chance to see Michael Dutchover, Ruben Torres, and Arnold Dinong. The idea for this show, Mr. Thompson, because a lot of promoters would have said, you know what, we can't do it. It's too expensive. You're pushing through. Why?
Well, because we feel that this is an opportunity more than we've ever seen it before. During this period of time that people have been confined to their home, our fighters have been training, not sparring, but they've been training, trying to stay in shape. So it was a true opportunity when we had the idea to move forward with a pay-per-view. And I give Calix Campanova complete credit for that. He's a brilliant young guy, and putting something like this together, bringing the fighters back into the game. And at the same time, our fighters are ready to go. So some of the other promoters have the same idea about getting some fights going, but they're short of fighters. So we are helping them out with our fighters on their cards. So, to be honest with you, just having a good stable of fighters and a good management at the top end with people that I have, just can't go wrong. We're looking really forward to making this long lasting. If this pay-per-view works for everybody, I think it'll be good for not only boxing itself, but for all the fighters and everybody involved.
Yeah, everybody involved. And I know that there's going to be another card in August, September. It'll keep on going for the rest of the year for Thompson Boxing. It's unique. And if you've seen our Facebook streams, Doug Fisher, myself, and Jessica Rosales, we have fun with you. We interact with the fans, and we bring you there. I always say, because if you're watching these shows, you're a hardcore fan, you're related, but you always come away excited. And the idea a couple years ago to start streaming it on Facebook, Mr. Thompson, and I told you, hey, we would get people from Australia, New Zealand, Saudi Arabia. We started getting a worldwide audience. Crazy to think about the impact that you can have, considering 20 years ago, you just started this. The evolution of the sport. How much have you loved to see that?
Oh, it's tremendous. I mean, to be able to reach out and talk to 3 million fans of boxing, and that's what we're looking for. This fight, we can get a big chunk of that 3 million fans that are already committed to boxing. So I think we'll wait for the playback on it, but I think this is the wave of the future.
Why did you become such a boxing fan as a kid?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it just starts out. I think, you hear a little about it, you fight, you listen to a couple of them on the radio, and then all of a sudden you're hooked. Once you're hooked into this sport, you aren't hooked in it for a short period of time. You're in it for life. So if you don't plan on spending your life in boxing, don't watch it.
And how did you become the president of the World Boxing Hall of Fame?
Well, I attended all the fights at the Olympic Auditorium and the Forum. And a lot of the people that were involved with the Hall of Fame were fans, and they would all be at the fights. So I got to know them, and they invited me to join them on the board. And then after a year on the board, they asked me to be president. So I took that position as president, and that's how I got involved in it.
And you still continue to be one of the pioneers in the sport, keep things going. And at the same time, you're running a business, Thompson Building Materials and Thompson Boxing. Do you sleep, Mr. Thompson?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. As long as you got good quality people around you, you have no problem.
That's definitely.
I've been very fortunate all through Thompson Building Materials, which we started in 1962, to have some of the best people ever, because I've always been a believer in people, and I think them as human assets. So I look at people as the company, because a company is only as good as the people you have. And like I mentioned, I think I have some of the finest people that I work with that anybody could say.
And you can say that also about your fighters, because having been around the company the last couple of years, I noticed that the type of fighters you sign are tough, hard-nosed, good kids that maybe didn't get the big shot, overlooked a little bit, but they have that underdog attitude and they want to perform for you, but they're high-quality young men at the same time. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, it is. In fact, to be honest with you, character is one of the big elements in anything. So in boxing, it's the same thing. If you have character and discipline and you're a truthful young guy, you'll go to the top in one way or another. Some of these fighters that have tried the boxing and it didn't work out for them, we've hired them at Thompson Building Materials. And we have several fighters. Carlos Bojorquez, the one who fought our first main event in boxing. And Rafael Lopez with Jose Cito Lopez's brother. We've got a lot of good fighters that work for us today.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. And you see that guys come back and, the fights are at the DoubleTree in Ontario, or they'll be at Omega Products in Corona. And the fighters that have been on the cards before, the fans recognize that. They come up to them, they appreciate them. But at the same time, I see you, Mr. Thompson, and you're a reserved gentleman, but you are there. If the fight started at 8, you're there early in the morning. I walk in the building, you're in there. You shake everybody's hand. You greet everybody. You take ownership and you take pride in that, which is rare to see from a lot of big-time company owners. Why do you feel like you need to be there for the fans?
Oh, I always think people working with people is the only way you run a business. You have to be there. If you like your business, you'll be there. And I love this business.
And some of the fighters that I know you've gone around the world with them, and one of the young kids we talk about character-wise, Danny Roman, you were with him in Japan when he won a world title. A few years before that, you had released him because he wasn't performing with the way you expected. The rejuvenation of Danny Roman, to be a world champion, to be there with that night in Japan, how special was that for you?
That was really top end because, to be honest with you, he put a tremendous performance on. He had his heart and soul in that ring. And we went to Japan and took the championship away from a Japanese fighter. And that's a big deal. And we went back twice and defended. And those were big nights. So to be honest with you, Danny Roman is a world champion, a world-class young man, a kid that will get another shot very soon at another belt. And he'll be back as a world champion very soon. So as far as the fans go, they're going to have a chance to see him back in action. And believe me when I tell you, he's a dedicated guy. He will be there.
Some of the club shows that are on around the world or around the country, and I'm not trying to knock them, but you know that those guys are limited where they're at. Respect to them. They're the blue-collar guys that have a lunch pail, but they also go box. But the difference, I think, with Thompson, and I'm not being biased here, it's you see kids who aren't blue chips but could become that. Your young stable that you have right now with a Michael Dutchover, a Ruben Torres, a Sal Sanchez, how excited are you about their futures?
Oh, yeah, no, we have a firm believer in it. We think for sure they'll be world champions. I mean, you've got Ruben Villa, awesome. Michael Dutchover, Ruben Torres. We've got so many young, fabulous fighters out there, just unbelievable. All of them coming in the right direction, all of them with the right frame of mind. And when you see all that together, you know you've got a winner.
July 26th, 3-2-1 pay-per-view, $6. You'll get 3 quality fights. Will be done in 2 hours, a Sunday afternoon. It'll be from Omega Products in Corona. No fans, but we will be there for you on Sunday, bringing you the action. Myself, Doug Fisher, and Jessica Rosales will be involved with you all over the world. Mr. Thompson, take us behind the scenes, though. Putting this show together, how hard has it been?
It's been difficult in one sense because it was brand new. Everything we did was brand new to us. But it went together very good because, like I mentioned, you have people that really want to make it work. And so when you have that, you put it together and away it goes. So where we're having the fight at is no problem out in Corona. And the fighters we have on the card are fabulous. The way we're promoting it is going to be top end. And we're looking for one of the greatest nights ever. I think any of the viewers that love boxing will definitely want to see this fight. It's that good.
Well, Mr. Thompson, you love the fans. You love shaking hands with them. There's going to be nobody there for you.
I know it. I'm going to miss them.
Ken Thompson, the founder of Thompson Boxing. Thank you, Mr. Thompson, for all your time. And also thanks for the support that we get. And I'm not saying this because I work for you, but every single time that I get called and say, hey, you're working this broadcast, I look forward to it because of the family and camaraderie that you build around there. I've never treated any of my jobs like it's ever a job, but you're right. The character, the quality of what you get there. And thank you very much. And once again, reminder, 3-2-1 boxing pay-per-view, July 26th. Mr. Ken Thompson, Alex Campanova, everybody bringing it to you. Crazy times right now, Mr. Thompson. Any final words?
Just, I hope you like the show.
There it is. I guarantee you're going to like this show. 3-2-1 boxing pay-per-view, July 26th. For Mr. Thompson, I'm Beto Duran. Thanks for watching.
Boxing is back, and we're making ordering as easy as 3, 2, 1. Here's how to watch. Head over to ThompsonBoxing.com and click on Order the Pay-Per-View event now. Then select Buy. On our next screen, you can log in or sign up for an account, and if you have a code, enter that now. Here's the last step. Just enter your payment information. Then after a couple quick seconds, you're all set and ready to go. Welcome to the fights. We'll see you on Fight Night on July 26th. Log in at ThompsonBoxing.com.